Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. I hope you're having a wonderful day as always. My name is Ksenia and I make videos for people who, like myself, are going through the family-based immigration process. Just a disclaimer that I am not an immigration attorney. This is not legal advice and my videos are based on publicly available information. The purpose of my channel is to give you guys the confidence to go through this process on your own. So subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Give this video a like so that more people can see it. And now let's jump into today's video. So today we're going to be talking about the affidavit of support form once again. I do have an entire playlist dedicated to this form in particular, but today we're going to talk about specifically the request for evidence that you would receive for this affidavit of support form. So this video is going to be a little bit long. However, I do think you need to watch through the entire thing so that it will help you understand a little bit better and maybe figure out why in your particular case you received this RFE. RFE is a letter that you will receive from USCIS or from the NVC, the consulate or embassy that's processing your case, asking for additional evidence because it is missing from your file or because they are unable to make a decision on your case based on the evidence that you have provided them before. So unfortunately, the RFEs related to the affidavit of support is one of the most common requests for evidence that I personally have seen. The first very common reason is that you as a sponsor or as a petitioner is that your income from the most recent tax year that you have indicated on the affidavit of support form was not enough according to the USCIS poverty guidelines. In the requests for evidence, you will see a statement that says USCIS uses your most recent year's tax return amount, specifically your total income line on your tax returns, to figure out if you are going to be an eligible sponsor. Even though USCIS asks you to provide your estimate of your current income on page 4, part 6, item 7 of the I-864 form, unfortunately, they only care about the income that you have indicated as your most recent year's total income as based on your tax returns, which you will be writing on page 5, part 6, item 24A. So if you are submitting your petition in the year 2022 and your current income is more than enough, however, in the year 2021, if you have already filed your 2021 taxes, was below the poverty guidelines, in this case, you will most likely receive a request for evidence. And most likely, they will ask that you find a joint sponsor. So what can you do in this situation? You can either find a joint sponsor, or if you have been able to file another set of taxes by the time you receive this request for evidence and these new taxes show that you do meet the income requirement, you can try to resubmit a new I-864 form. So for instance, if your income in the year 2020 was not enough, and now that you have received your request for evidence, you already filed your 2021 taxes and your 2021 taxes show that your income was in fact above the poverty guideline, then in that case, you can try to resubmit the affidavit of support with the new tax information. And of course, you are now going to have to also include the tax return copies, the copies of W-2s, whatever is required for these forms. Reason number 2, you did not submit an affidavit of support from the petitioner because the petitioner did not make enough income. There's a big mistake that a lot of applicants make, and that is when they know that the petitioner doesn't make enough income, they do find a joint sponsor, and the joint sponsor fills out form I-864 and includes all of the information. However, you as the petitioner will also have to submit an I-864 form, even though you're not making enough or any income at all. So you are going to also submit a separate I-864 for each relative that you are petitioning. And also you are going to have to include proof of you not making that income. So that is another very common mistake that people make. Don't make that assumption. And if you did that, maybe that is the reason why you received a request for evidence. Reason number 3 is a little bit convoluted, and that is you have submitted all of the appropriate documentation from the petitioner, and you have submitted all of the appropriate documentation and evidence for the joint sponsor. However, for some unknown reason, you still received a request for evidence. Unfortunately, this happens more frequently than you would think, and I personally think this makes USCIS look very bad. It almost seems like they completely set the entire file aside right away and issue a request for evidence without looking through the entire packet to see that you have indeed included an information for the joint sponsor. I know that it can be very infuriating and it can delay your case. However, what you should be doing is following their instructions once again and resubmitting everything that they are asking for. Even if you feel like you already submitted all of this stuff in the beginning of the process, I don't think you should rely on USCIS to keep good record of that. In some certain situations, when you are submitting information for the joint sponsors, you may receive a request for evidence when the joint sponsor is married, filing jointly with their spouse, and you do not provide an appropriate documentation of that, such as not including the spouse's W-2s, or another reason is perhaps including the documentation for the joint sponsor, their tax returns, their W-2s, the affidavit of support form. However, not including the joint sponsor's proof of status in the United States, such as a copy of their birth certificate or a copy of their US passport. The fourth reason why you may have received an RFE is that you did not include all necessary tax information, all necessary tax evidence in your original file. So unfortunately, a lot of people only send copies of W-2s and they don't send the copies of federal income tax returns with the affidavit of support, or they don't include the complete copy of the federal income tax returns. I understand that your income tax returns, especially the federal ones, may be extremely long. In some cases, they may be 18 to 20 pages or even more. And a lot of people feel like it's not necessary to include the entire thing. And again, if you are submitting, for example, IRS transcripts, then in that case, you don't need to include copies of W-2s unless you as a petitioner or you as a joint sponsor are filing taxes together with your spouse. In that case, even if you do provide only the IRS transcripts, you still need to provide copies of W-2s. So the other reason for request for evidence that I frequently see is when the petitioner or the sponsor is self-employed. For self-employed sponsors, in the form instructions, they do say to include all the information related to your profits and losses from your business, Schedule C, whatever other paperwork that you may have. I frequently see that with petitioners who are self-employed, and maybe you are making some money from your business. However, on your tax returns, it states that your total income was actually in the negative, or your adjusted gross income is in the negative, USCIS is going to look at that and almost automatically issue you a request for evidence asking for a joint sponsor. I don't have experience with submitting information for self-employed sponsors, so I may not be able to necessarily answer all of your questions. However, if you are a self-employed sponsor and you have had any kind of experience with providing self-employed income tax returns and any other financial information, please comment it under this video for other people to see. And finally, another reason that I frequently see with requests for evidence is that the applicant mixes up the household members or a joint sponsor. In other words, when you are submitting your I-864, when you as the petitioner, when your income is not enough, you may obviously be eligible to either use income of your household members or ask for help from a joint sponsor. However, there is a little bit of confusion, so let's quickly talk about the definition of each. So a joint sponsor is any person 18 years or older who is a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident currently domiciled in the United States. The joint sponsor does not have to be related to the petitioner or the intending immigrant. A joint sponsor must fill out a separate form I-864. Let's look at the definition of the household members. The household member is the spouse, parent, child, adult son or daughter, or sibling relative of the sponsor who has the same principal residence as the sponsor, or any other individual whom the sponsor has lawfully claimed as a dependent on the sponsor's most recent federal income tax return, even if that person does not live in the same residence as the sponsor. Each household member who is contributing their income must fill out and sign Form I-864A. The great thing about household members is that they can help you combine your income with theirs on the affidavit of support form. However, as a joint sponsor, you cannot combine your income with the petitioner. So this is another reason why I see people receive requests for evidence, is that they misunderstand the difference between a joint sponsor and a household member. Now, after you have heard all of these common reasons why people receive affidavit of support requests for evidence, and you still feel like you are unsure about your particular request for evidence, I definitely think you should check out the playlist that I have about this form, go through the videos and compare it to your originally submitted file, and maybe you'll be able to find a particular mistake that you may have made with this application. A request for evidence is basically the one chance that USCIS gives you to provide them evidence that they need before they can either approve or deny your case. So if you are still worried about it and confused and are misunderstanding, you definitely should at least have a consultation with an immigration attorney who can explain this to you. If you are able to find an immigration attorney that specifically deals with requests for evidence, that would be even better. However, don't panic, and I would tell you that in majority of cases, at least when it came to my subscribers, a lot of people, after receiving a request for evidence and resubmitting a lot of the evidence that they are asking for, their case was able to move forward. Be very mindful of when you need to send your RFE by and where you must be mailing it. Usually on the very last page, they will show you exactly where you need to mail all of these documents. You are also allowed to include any additional financial evidence, such as proof of your assets, proof of your current income, your pay stubs, bank account statements from the past 6 to 12 months. You're allowed to include any additional information. However, most importantly, they do want to see those tax returns. So final couple pieces of advice I would say is, do not forget to make a copy of your request for evidence letter. And also, you should probably be including a cover letter with your mailed documents, with your request for evidence response, outlining all of the things that are included in the packet. On the screen right now, I will include a sample cover letter that you can include with your RFE response. And the cover letter is not a requirement. However, it's a really good idea, especially when it comes to mailing documents. It's very good standard practice to have a cover letter that will generally help you outline all the numerous things that are included and also serve kind of like a checklist for yourself. I know that this video was very long. However, I hope that it helped you clear up some doubts that you had about your request for evidence. And I hope that your request for evidence gets accepted, and I hope that your case gets approved. If you have had any personal experience with the request for evidence related to the affidavit of support, please comment under this video for others to see. Again, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, to give this video a like so more people can see it, so we can help more people. And I hope to see you in my next videos. Bye!